Last night, the Guilford County Board of Education voted 5-4 for a reentry decision that includes a start date as of October 20th for pre-K. We know you have a ton of questions. We are taking them to the county's top educators. Guilford County Schools Assistant Superintendent Dr. Jamie King, Chief Academic Officer Dr. Whitney Oakley, and Chief Operations Officer Angie Henry are joining us to break down all of the things that happened last night. All right, we are getting all kinds of questions. Let's just start with this one. How can the district ensure students will stay socially distanced when they return to school?
I can take that one. So, every school year we practice routines and procedures with our students. We do that with all age ranges of students. We know that we're going to be in our new normal, that we are expecting students to wear masks, that we have new markings on the floors, and that we have desks 6 feet apart. And so we are have the social distancing protocols in place. And as students gradually re-enter the buildings, we'll teach the routines and procedures to our students. We know that kids are kids, and sometimes we might have to practice a few times to get it right. And not everybody's going to be good at it on the first day or the first week or even the first month of school. But we'll practice. It's what teachers do best. And we have the routines and procedures in place, ready to welcome our students back.
All right, this person says, I'm confused about the reentry plan because of the metric having to be under 5% before we start. So what happens if the cases go up?
Right. So the metrics that were shared last night with our Board of Education by public health officials looked at several different metrics, including primary and secondary indicators. There's no one single indicator that would be used to ensure that students come back on October 20th. However, we do know that we have models to look at and want to stay around or under 5% for 14 days prior to schools reopening. If our positivity rates climb, if we are not able to meet those metrics, then we would extend the reentry date to when we are able to meet those metrics. We'll continue meeting with public health officials and getting guidance based on the metrics that were discussed as we approach October 20th to know if it is indeed safe to reopen at that point.
Mm-hmm. We're getting questions about, will ACEs start back up when school does? So many parents rely on ACEs.
So at this point, we are not ready to start ACEs up when school opens on October 20th. We do understand that parents need to hear and know that, but because of the way we need to cohort students and the way that students need to stay together, that would be undone if we were to bring ACEs back on October 20th. Plus, we've got the protocols that would need to be in place for shared spaces. We don't have sufficient staffing or resources available to do those at this time.
The next text question is, Guilford County, do students have to go back or do they have a choice?
Yeah, so students have the choice of the virtual academy and then their traditional homeschool. So we have extended the deadline for the virtual academy until Monday. So parents can register and enroll their child for the virtual academy if they don't feel comfortable sending them back to their home traditional school. And then on October 20th, and then based on what grade they're in, students will start back at their homeschool if they have not registered for the virtual academy.
Okay, so that deadline again is Monday, 5 p.m. on Monday. This question is, will there be another survey sent to see if teachers feel safe to return?
So we're scheduled to start October 20th, and teachers have lots of options if they are not able to return. We're asking them to reach out to HR to work with HR if they are in a position where they don't feel like they can return to school.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this person is asking, okay, for high schoolers, is there a possibility that the return plan will change between now and January, or is this set in stone?
So right now, the Board of Education has approved the plan for high schoolers to re-enter on January 20th, pending review of public health indicators. So the only way that would change is if public health indicators and our collaboration with our public health officials indicate that we would need to revisit that decision.
Okay, and this is a follow-up question. The person is asking, what criteria was considered in sending the youngest children to school first as opposed to the high schoolers who may understand social distancing better?
Sure, I'll be happy to talk about that one. Across the nation, we're seeing the trend of bringing back the youngest students first, and there's several reasons for that. The first is that our youngest students are the students who are most likely to suffer from the greatest amount of learning loss during remote learning. Remember that these students have had little to no school experience so far. They don't have foundational skills in reading or math. They're learning how to hold a pencil, they're learning how to use scissors. They simply do not have the foundational skills that older students have. We also know from our collaboration with Health Guidance that our youngest students are the least likely to contribute to the spread of the coronavirus. For those reasons, in addition to the fact that it is very difficult and more difficult for parents to find childcare for the youngest students, we have begun with our youngest students in Guilford County, and that's a trend across the nation.
This question says, so what happens if the virtual academy is full?
So we'll continue. You can go ahead.
Good.
We'll continue to accept students who register for the virtual academy through Monday, and we'll assign teachers accordingly.
All right, this text question is about cleaning. It says, in the meeting last night, the superintendent said students have to clean and sanitize their work areas by wiping them down with wipes. Who's going to supply those wipes? Because I'm having a hard time finding them in the stores.
Sure. So we got wipes that we're bringing, delivering to schools. We anticipate being able to provide wipes in every classroom. They are, we have to order plenty in advance to be sure that we are able to get them, but we do have supplies of wipes for our classrooms.
This person is asking, are elementary school student desks going to be 6 feet apart?
Yes, we've created model classrooms this past July that we brought principals in to see on how to set up a classroom so that we have appropriate social distancing in all of our classrooms, and those students are 6 feet apart. We also had a company come in to help us with measuring all of our classroom spaces. So using those measurements, we were able to determine the social distancing capacity for all of our classrooms. That information has been shared with all of our schools, so they know how to set up their classrooms and how to place desks so that they are 6 feet apart, as well as allowing space for any ventilation or any storage areas that need to be accessible to other students or other people during the day.
Great. All right. We're going to continue on asking your questions and getting your answers. We'll be back in just a few moments. Here's a look at the plan. We want to make sure that you know what the plan is. October 20th would mark the first day for all pre-K through second grade, 5 days a week in-person learning. Grades 3 through 5 will go back October 26th, 5 days a week for in-person learning. Now, when it comes to middle school, 6th grade will return October 20th, but for in-person learning 2 times a week. Then 7th and 8th graders will return October 26th, also for in-person learning 2 days a week. As for high schoolers, they are not returning to the classroom until January 20th. Hey guys, if you are watching us on Facebook or on YouTube, continue to text your questions. That's 336-379-5775. We're continuing on. We have 2 more full segments with our Guilford County school leaders, and each one of these segments is somewhere between like 6.5 and 8 minutes long. So we're able to get through a good amount of questions. A lot of you are asking some of the same or similar questions, so be on the lookout for hearing the answer to your question, even if it's not phrased exactly as you had texted it in. We are also on our Facebook page monitoring those questions that you're asking there if you are not texting them in. But the best way to get a question to us is to text us. It comes in one spot, and we're able to funnel all of those questions that we're able to get quickly. And that number again is 336-379-5775. All right, we're ready for segment number 2. Here we go. Back We are back with Guilford County Schools answering your questions, and we want to make sure that we get your questions answered. So here we go. This person is asking, are teachers being required to wear face masks and face shields and other PPE?
So certainly all of our teachers and our students are being asked to wear cloth face coverings while they are in the buildings. Face shields are available to our teachers who prefer to add that to the cloth face coverings for additional protection. But we do have, and then we have other appropriate PPE in the schools that can be available to teachers as needed.
Okay, we're having people ask, will teachers be expected to create virtual lessons and also in-person lessons?
So I can talk about that a little bit. During the voluntary period, we have some pre-K students who are returning as early as Tuesday, September 29th, and some kindergarten students who are returning voluntarily as early as Monday, October 5th. And during that time, there will be both remote teaching and face-to-face teaching. Students will be in school half days, so teachers will be able to accommodate both those students who are face-to-face and those students who are choosing to remain at home. Once schools reopen for students face-to-face, then instruction will be delivered during that face-to-face environment.
This question asks, will the academic calendar remain the same as far as teacher work days and holidays and such?
Yes, the calendar remains.
Except for snow days, right? There's no more snow days because you don't need them anymore?
That's our hope.
Okay, the remote learning, that means no more snow days. Okay, this person is asking, will students and teachers be tested for coronavirus before students report for in-person learning? And will there be ongoing coronavirus testing for students and teachers?
So there's no plan at this time to test teachers or students. As we know, students can be, and teachers can be exposed in all of their daily activities, not necessarily at school. So, somebody may test positive today, and in 3 days may start showing symptoms and then test. I'm sorry, I said that backwards. Somebody may test negative today, and in 3 days start showing symptoms and test positive at that time. So no, we don't have any plans to test students or staff.
All right, they're asking about the timing of the start and end times for school beginning October 20th, because those have been tweaked a little bit.
They have. Right now, and this is for the most part, schools will be contacting parents directly if their school's not going to stick to the schedule. So we've got elementary schools starting at 7:35. Our magnet elementary schools will start at 7:50. Our middle schools will start at 8:35. There are some magnet middle schools that will have a different schedule. And again, those schools will be contacting their families directly to let them know what those schedules will be.
Mm-hmm. This question is, will schools be providing each student with a reusable mask?
So certainly we've got, we're distributing this week, we've started distributing to schools 5 reusable cloth face coverings for students.
Okay, this person is asking, will elementary students be expected to sit at a desk for 6 hours a day with the exception of recess, and what will recess look like if they have it?
Yeah, so we've worked with teachers and special teachers trying to make sure that teachers understand that kids need a break. And so this is no different here in, when we come back in October versus what we've done in years past, right? And so teachers are used to taking small breaks with kids, giving them a brain break or just a stand-up stretch break. And so most of our teachers are very familiar with younger students and understanding that they need some time just to stand up or to stretch and to take that small break.
All right, they're asking, can you please clarify and explain the 5% for the 14 days metric? It is confusing. We all get it.
Right. So we looked at 2 different models in conjunction with public health officials last night. One was the model set forth by Harvard University. The other was the model set forth by the Center for Disease Control, or the CDC. In both of those models, we looked at positivity rate over a 14-day rate, and what that percentage rate looks like, whether it puts us in a green, a yellow, an orange, category or a red category upon returning to school. So we will continue to collaborate with public health officials and report out in a transparent way. The public health authorities are going to release a dashboard that shows our school metrics upon reentry, and we will try to stay at or below that 5% positivity rate for 14 consecutive days before opening schools for reentry.
This person, I haven't heard this before. How often will students be allowed to wash their hands? I heard they're not allowed to wash their hands at the sinks in the classrooms.
So we are asking schools to schedule hand washing breaks, and then we'll also have hand sanitizer available in every classroom. So we've got that schedule included in our schedules.
Okay, and we scheduled this because
we know that hand washing breaks are important before lunches and after restroom breaks. And then again, the hand sanitizer will be available in all of our classrooms.
Okay, so this person is asking, will exceptional children classes be in person?
Yes, so our students with individualized education plans will follow the reentry plan that was set before the Board of Education last night.
Okay, and this person is, we're going to get to school cleaning, custodial staff, buses, and temperatures coming up in the next segment. We're going to be talking about all that, so if that is one of your questions, hang tight because that is what we're going to be talking about next. We'll be right back. For those of you who are watching live on YouTube and Facebook, this is one of our just quick commercial breaks. We're regrouping and we will start the questions again. The next batch of questions will start with temperatures being taken. Why are they not being taken before the kids get on the bus, or is there going to be a monitor that's going to be on the bus? What happens if someone gets COVID at school? What happens if someone has a temperature at school? We are going to continue that. Oh, and deep cleaning. Someone's asking about how often will schools be deep cleaned, and is there going to be a larger custodial staff? I know in the timeline that you guys released yesterday, it talked about how it's going to be deep cleaned, especially when the kids go 50-50. So I know that's an easy one. I don't know that I saw the deep cleaning for when the kids go Monday through Friday for elementary, but you guys can talk about that. Okay. For those of you who are at home, we are still taking your text questions. We're trying also to monitor your Facebook questions as well. Michelle Gibbs, I see you asking about bus safety, so we are asking about that. All right, we can go anytime. Michael? We are back with Guilford County Schools answering your questions. All of the decisions were made last night. Now all the pieces and parts are coming together to figure out how everything happens. One of the main line of questioning that we're getting is all about taking temperatures for students who are getting on the bus. And are they going to take the temperatures before they get on the bus, when they get to school? How do you keep them safe if you're not giving them a temperature check before they get on the bus?
So we will not be taking temperatures before we get on the bus. We don't have the staff available to be on the buses to do that, nor do we want to take up valuable seat space where we need our students to be able to sit with a staff member. All parents will have to complete an attestation form though before their student can get on the bus, stating that they do not have or are not exhibiting any symptoms and have not been in contact with anybody that has tested positive. So that information will be available to our zone supervisors and our bus drivers on a daily basis. The students who do ride the bus though will be have their temperatures checked when they get to school before they're allowed to go into the school building.
Okay, and what happens if a child has a temperature when they get off the bus?
So each school is required to have an isolation room, and for any student that's exhibiting symptoms, including a temperature, they would be accompanied to the isolation room, and somebody would stay with the student there while we reach out to contact the parent to have the student picked up.
And there's an important point to be made about if your child needs to ride the school bus to school, there's a specific deadline.
Right. We're asking all parents to let us know what their transportation preference is because of the way we've got to limit the number of students on a school bus, and because our concern about the number of school bus drivers who are in the high risk category that are currently on leave. We need to be sure that we're targeting our resources to the students who need transportation. So we're asking all parents to go to the link on our website or on their school's website. It's also available on the parent portal in Power School, as well as in Canvas, just to let us know your transportation preference. It's important that we hear from families that don't need transportation, as well as from families that do need transportation.
And right now we're looking at that deadline as October 5th. Is that correct? Okay, just want to make sure that we're good. October the 5th, 5 p.m. Make sure you get your yes, I need transportation, or no, I don't need transportation. And you want to do that to your local school. Okay. Go ahead.
Website.
Okay, and so this person is asking, how often will the schools be deep cleaned, and is there going to be a larger custodial staff to do that?
So schools will be deep cleaned. It will depend on what schedule they're following. So for schools that have the same students in the same classrooms every day for the 5 days, which will be our elementary schools, then those will be deep cleaned at the end of the week. So on Friday evening and over the weekend, those schools will be deep cleaned. For schools where we're going to have students transition in the middle of the week, so mostly our middle schools, where there will be a group of students in there on Monday and Tuesday, and then a different group of students in there on Thursday and Friday, those schools will be cleaned midweek on Wednesdays in preparation for a different group of students to come Thursday, and then they'll be cleaned again on Fridays and over the weekend. We are working toward getting additional custodial staff. We're also working on offering our current custodial staff additional hours to be able to be sure we've got enough staff in place to do these protocols and to do the wipe downs that are going to be required throughout the school day.
This is a string. What is the reason the district is waiting till after the new year to have high schoolers return? Can you talk about what's keeping that from happening?
Sure. So when we think about high school students, there's a lot of different factors here. One of the most challenging factors and difficult to understand is the complexity of the high school scheduling process. It's much easier to cohort students and to keep students in one group and follow social distancing requirements in elementary and middle schools than it is in high schools. High school students take a wide variety of course offerings. Lots of students across different grade levels can be in the same course. High school students have more electives. They have options to take advanced placement and international baccalaureate courses, and they actually cross sections of groups of kids all day long. We want to make sure that our high school students have the opportunity to keep their schedules intact. We also know that in collaboration with public health officials that we do not want to bring our high school students back before the holiday break. We know that families will be traveling, that Thanksgiving and winter holidays invite some risk in terms of travel, and that our high school age group of students is more likely to contribute to the spread of the coronavirus than our younger age students.
Okay, we are wrapping up our time of text questions and answers. We could probably go on for several hours answering all kinds of questions. We so appreciate you taking your time to do that, especially knowing that everything just happened with the school board decision yesterday. We appreciate your time as well, and for you texting in your questions. We're going to continue to learn with you about how school entry impacts all of us. All right, we want to make sure that you stick around because WFMY News 2 at 6 is next.